Hi, I have someone in the morgue. I'm just trying to find out when they will be released or if they've been released.
What's your patient's name?
Lily Drexler. That is so weird to say, like, a person in the morgue. What do you say? What is the normal procedure? Is it kind of like a week or two and then they come get them, or? I was expecting them to be at the funeral home, but I didn't know. Well, I appreciate you doing that and going to look for us. We were just trying to find out where she was.
Yeah, she's still down here. But yeah, I'll...
Okay.
The funeral home, they are also corners.
Yeah.
Clark corner, whatever.
Yeah.
And we can do a direct cremation memorial or a direct burial memorial. And she said, like, under 35 weeks, most people do the direct cremation. The biggest reason that I started this channel was just to have something to look back on in the future and to share with my kiddos and my family, and something that they could have forever, even when we are gone. So I wanted to also be authentic and just share real moments of our family. So this is also a big part of us and what's going on in our life right now. On November 28th, 2022, we unfortunately lost our baby. I was 24 weeks pregnant and we lost the baby. So this is our birth story. So the morning of the 28th, I woke up. It was a pretty normal morning for me. We did have the flu. Everybody in the house had the flu. You finally got to go back to work because you were out of the clear. Or you were out of the woods. You were out of the woods. You were clear and good to go. Yeah. And Mia and I obviously are at home. So we woke up pretty late that morning. We were pretty tired. It was, I would say, at 10 o'clock when we woke up. And we decided to get breakfast. And Mia really wasn't that hungry. Honestly, she hasn't been in general because she's going through toddler stage and she's a little picky, kind of eats here and there. So I wasn't too worried about her not eating. So we came and watched TV, we played some games. So TMI, she had a blowout and she felt tons better. So we came back to the living room, we hung out, we played. So we came back out, we played, we did some activities for the day, and then my stomach started to hurt. And I felt like, okay, we both have the flu, same stages. She went to the restroom, I need to go to the restroom. So I got some toys, brought her to the bathroom, and I went to the restroom. But, you know, I went and I just did not feel good at all. So I went to the restroom, but I did not feel any better at the end of it. I felt actually a little bit worse. So I obviously thinking I needed to let a little bit more out or something, or I just need to kind of wait. But it was very intense, and all of a sudden I get a big rush of water, and you just, I mean, there's fluids everywhere, and I don't know if, you know, if it's pee, if my water just broke, I'm not sure, but it was a gush. I just hear whoosh. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, let me clean this up. Mia's in the bathroom. She's preoccupied at the moment with her toys, but I don't want her to, you know, step in it, and she's crazy, you know, kids. So I clean it up, and I feel so much better. The pressure is gone. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. But then I look down, and I see that there's blood. And luckily, I was already on the phone with my sister at the time, and I told her, well, obviously I'm crying. I told her, hey, I'm bleeding. I really need you to get here. Come get Mia. And then I immediately called you and let you know what was going on. And you know, told me to call the hospital. So we called our midwives. He's rushing home. My sister's rushing home. I talked to the midwife. They let me know I need to go into labor and delivery. And so I'm just waiting for you to get home. So my sister gets here. She takes Mia. And then we rushed to the hospital. I don't even know who called my mom, but she was already at the hospital by the time we got there. So she took your car and we went up to labor and delivery. And honestly, I felt like things were okay, but there was definitely something going on. I wasn't feeling great. Not terrible, but not great either. At most, I thought maybe we're going to have the baby and things will be okay, because nothing felt bad and I wasn't really bleeding that much. It was consistent but not heavy or anything. So we get there. It was definitely a different experience because at the time we were just thinking we're going to get checked up. Something obviously is a little weird, but we'll be fine at the end of this. We get there, it's definitely a different experience because you're in a hospital. And we haven't been to a hospital in honestly years because we haven't had to. And we get there, it's very quiet. There's really nobody there. I don't think anybody on the whole floor. Maybe one person, I think, later, but when we got there, nobody was there. So all the nurses and doctors were just kind of standing around and waiting on our midwife. So they took us to a room, and I was just really waiting for a doctor or a midwife or somebody to come in the room and just kind of let us know like what we needed to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the first thing that kind of happened is, they did a ultrasound to see, or a Doppler.
They did a
Doppler.
Doppler,
right?
yeah.
They did a Doppler to see if they could find the baby's heartbeat, and they couldn't find it, which is not that uncommon for me because I have an anterior pelvic or uterus, whatever. So it's not like it's that uncommon for them to like look for it forever.
It takes time normally.
It always takes time. So I figured, they're not my normal people, so it's going to take them even longer. So they couldn't find a heartbeat. I wasn't really that worried because, again, like I said, like it's always taken longer for us to find it.
I was worried.
I wasn't at the time.
You were in a different world because you were in labor.
I was actually in labor, but also in general, I try to think overly positive about things.
Yeah.
So I try not to think the worst.
I do the opposite. I think the worst.
Yeah.
Until it's proven.
Well, so for me, I was kind of like, okay, when a midwife gets here, they'll be able to find it. Boom, boom. But then the pain starts getting worse, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like. It's getting lower too. Like, it's like, oh my gosh. So, and I can't lie about it. It was coming every few minutes. Every few minutes it started to get worse. And I was like, and I wasn't thinking labor at the time. And maybe, like I said, like optimism was taking over. And I was like, no, this is not labor.
From the outside looking in, I could tell just based off of, we just had Mia 18 or 17 months ago.
Yeah.
And I remember what it looked like.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, I kind of feel like
this is labor.
Yeah.
I feel like you felt that when we walked in to the door. Like when I was walking and kind of stopping and walking slowly and swaying the way that I do. Like I can tell like that's a lot of the same things. The reason I really didn't think it was labor though is because I didn't have any pressure in my back at all. Mm-hmm. And it was not the same intensity as going into that labor. It's not going to be the same
intensity just because of the circumstance, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't know.
We didn't know. So I was still super optimistic about everything. And
when we got there, I was like, oh, we're just going to be in NICU for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew probably we were going to be walking out with a baby.
I honestly just thought that I'd have to be on bed rest for the rest of the pregnancy.
I thought about that. I was like, well, maybe, depending on how far this thing is gone,
mm-hmm.
right? But I didn't know either.
Yep. So. But that's where, like, my optimism was like, okay, I'll be on bed rest. And then also just honestly thinking, like, it just was it never occurred to me that this could happen.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
They tried a different type of Doppler or maybe a ultrasound.
No, they did. So they did the same Doppler, but a different person tried.
Okay.
And then they're like, let's
get an ultrasound.
So I think they had already figured it out at this point. So they put us into a room.
But we didn't know that.
You didn't know that. I kind of was putting pieces together. I could see concern in people's faces.
Okay.
And then our midwife came and she was like, let's put her in a room.
So they moved me from the waiting room kind of area. I don't really know what that is, but
It's like a
to an actual room.
temporary.
Maybe even triage or something. I don't know.
It's like
but
in the middle of
yeah.
the.
It's almost like an emergency room, and then they like, well, I don't know. So we went to an actual labor and delivery room, and they brought out the ultrasound. My midwife was there, the doctor was there, and all the nurses. And so at this point, I was in full blown pretty much labor at that point, because like while we were waiting for them to get everything set up,
You're already 7 centimeters down.
yeah,
So yeah, you had 2 centimeters.
3.
3, sorry.
Yeah, so at this point, but I didn't know that yet. When we first got in there, I needed to use the restroom.
No, and then she came in and she did a check to see how far along you were.
Yeah, so went to the restroom, came in, they did the ultrasound, and I literally had to be carried into the room. Like, y'all were pretty much carrying me, because I was like, just like, I definitely was out of it, but I was like, I'm so sorry, I know this is not what anybody wanted today, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, because I still thought that everything was fine, and that, it wasn't going to be a big deal.
Right.
Mentally, I was like, guys, what's going on, So they do the ultrasound, and that was dumb. I don't even know how else to explain that.
What do you mean?
Just stupidness. So they do the ultrasound, and basically they let us know that we lost the baby. And that was really hard, because like I wasn't expecting that. And then I think even the thing that really was the worst part of it all is that they were like, you're gonna have to have the baby. And I think I had pretty much checked out kind of when they said like, I'm so sorry you lost the baby. But then when they said like, you're gonna have the baby, they were talking about options of what I needed to do,
which weren't really options.
They weren't
They're just
really
giving you drug
any
options.
options. It was, we
want
could.
A painkiller,
Do you want painkiller, or do you want painkiller, or do you want painkiller and
to be dilated,
Pitocin to dilate you further?
Which you didn't need.
Which I was already
You're
7
pretty
centimeters.
Much, you went
And I know that I'm a quick birther. It doesn't take me very long at all. Just from Mia's, I labored at home 9 centimeters, and I didn't really feel it that much. So I knew that I'd progress quickly. So I'm already at 7 centimeters, and they're basically telling me that I'm gonna have to give birth. And I was upset. I was mad, to be fair. They were like, so what do you want to do? I said, I don't want to be here. I just want to go home. Because I didn't. I had no intention on giving birth to a baby that I don't get to take home with me. That is like the most annoying, upsetting, like just sad thing in the world to me. And like, I don't want anything. I just want to go. So whatever. But I didn't think I needed Pitocin. I knew that I'm progressed very quickly, and I made the decision to take Dilaudid, a painkiller, because which I don't take any medicine. I don't even take like Tylenol, ibuprofen, or anything.
You were in a lot of pain, but by the time they got it there, you're pretty much already done anyway.
Well, so it wasn't that I was in like a lot of pain, but I didn't want to be in any pain. If I have to give birth to this baby that I don't get to take with me, I don't want to also feel the pain of birth at all. Like, even though I would honestly say that it's really not the worst thing in the world, I don't want to feel anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm already numb. I don't want to feel anything. Mm-hmm. So I was like, give me the Dilaudid.
Right.
Go for it. But then like, it took so long for them to come in. Obviously they were giving me time to process everything and to grieve. But for me, I was like, okay, if we're doing this, let's do it. Let's be done. But while they were giving us time to kind of be together and be in our feelings, we also were waiting, and I was already ready to go. I had used the restroom, and that's where I like to labor, so I went to the restroom to kind of labor a little bit. And I knew that it was time. So when I got back on that bed, it was time for me to push. I knew it. And I was like, hey, we need to go now. We need to get the IV started because I'm pushing. And they were literally like doing the tests for me to get the IV and take my blood work. And then they literally hooked me up to the IV
it's okay.
5 minutes beforehand. Maybe not. It felt like 5 minutes or less.
It wasn't very long before you gave birth that they actually gave you anything.
They give me the IVs. They give me the Dilaudid. And honestly, it felt like 2 seconds I was pushing and having the baby. So I didn't really feel anything. I felt a little sleepy, and which I think helped with the pain. And then I was pushing to have a baby. And
yep. And then we had a baby.
Then we had a baby. And it was really sad because, there's no joy in it. Nobody's happy or excited, and it's just like a flop. Like this flopping sound of the baby hit the bed. And I see you from the corner of my eye, and you're just like bawling because you're sitting there watching the whole thing.
Yeah, it was not. That was not a fun experience. I mean, obviously, but yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
There's no way to put that. I mean, there's nothing. It's definitely, you don't ever expect to have to do that, first of all.
Yeah.
And then you get put through a lot of pain with, I mean, I don't want to say no reward, but no reward.
Yeah.
And then I'm just trying to be there, helping you through labor, like the best I can, knowing at the end of it, it's just going to be more sadness and no joy, like you said.
Yeah. Initially, I had no intention of holding the baby because I just felt like
Well, it's hard.
it's very hard. Then I saw my mom holding the baby, and I felt like she's so strong, and if she can do it, I can do it. So I held the baby, and honestly, I think that helped me so much more because I got to hold the baby, see the baby, look at her features, her little eyelashes and toes, and see that she was a baby. Like, I think on one hand it's really hard because it makes it real, but on the other hand, you kind of need to feel that. I think it helps give you closure. You get to see your baby and their little features and actually get to see them and know them and have that skin-to-skin contact if you want it, and just, be with them. And I think that really helped me. I don't know how you felt about it, but...
No, you should, if you have to go through that, you should hold the baby. You should hold your baby. Just to say goodbye.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard, you're not going to like it, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but it is
your
it's
baby.
Needed. It's
Yeah.
your baby, yeah. So I can honestly say that I think you've had probably one of the best experiences and one of the worst experiences because she was very easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
easy.
No, for sure.
In terms of like
for sure.
that. And
I've told you many times that there are so many worse things that I have experienced than birth. So
I think, and I mean, for me, same thing. I mean, I had the best and the worst experience.
as a dad.
So, it's terrible. I mean, I don't wish that on anybody.
Not at all. At the end of that, they were talking about if you need any counseling with your emotions and all this stuff, any grief, and I'm like, in my head, like, no. But then I started thinking, and then you were telling me about, all the hormonal changes, because this is not our first loss, unfortunately. This is our third, and obviously this is the most progressed loss we've had, but in the past, I was a troll after pregnancy.
I mean, you just were all out of balance.
Yeah.
It is just part of I mean, your hormones are gonna be...
They're coming up and down, and they're getting...
Even when you had her, they were unbalanced, but it was a different thing.
I was just happy, and I would cry a lot because I was so happy to have her. So it was just different,
Honestly, for what it was and what all happened, I feel like you handled it pretty phenomenally. I mean, you've been very strong through the whole thing, and I don't know if that's real or if you're just putting it on, but you've held it together really well. Now, I know you think about it because I know I think about it. So
Definitely. I mean, obviously you're going to think about it, but I will say that I think the greatest thing for me has been to already have her.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the fact that she's still so young and
you can.
I think having her at this age was one of the greatest things because she still breastfeeds, so that helps with, you know, producing oxytocin and the feel-good hormones and all that good stuff. So it makes me happy.
I mean,
I
yeah.
think.
I don't think it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I mean, I'm not a doctor either, but I
I would
definitely.
assume it probably help balance stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a doctor either, but I do think it helped.
If you feel like it helped, then it helped. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a period in the story. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was.
Yeah. And she's so sweet. So I'm just thankful for having her. You know, honestly, if I didn't, I don't think that this would have been the same at all. And I feel extremely sad. And, you know, if it's your first baby, I don't know how I would cope with that because I don't know if I want to have another baby right now. Definitely not anytime soon if we do, which I feel like I would.
Yeah.
But how would you think, you know, for me, it would be really hard to try that again if I didn't have her already.
Especially now that you went so far, you're almost 7 months in. So now the entire time that you're pregnant,
Yeah,
the
because
entire time.
when we
you're
had
gonna
Mia,
worry
we
about it.
waited like 14 weeks to tell anybody because we just wanted to make sure that this would actually happen. And we had complications the entire pregnancy and right up until the end of her birth. So,
With this one,
you know, this one,
just
it was
thought,
a perfectly normal, healthy pregnancy. And
when you get this far along, you just think it's done deal.
yeah,
So
you think, okay,
unfortunately,
like,
it's not.
here we are, we're almost done. And so we have to decide if we're going to send it to this funeral home, and are we doing a cremation service, are we doing a burial, and we don't know what we're doing, where we're going. So to think about where our unborn child is going to go, it's like, well, born, you know,
She was born, yeah.
it's like, where's our child going to go? We don't know. We don't want them out there alone. It's just, you know, so many things to
Yeah.
think about. It was like, whoa, I did not want this type of responsibility. And I'm just, again, with her, like, she's giving kisses right now. So I'm just extremely thankful to have her. And honestly, I don't know what I would do without her. Heart aches for anybody that has to go through this, that doesn't have any children, that really wants children, that's going through IVF sessions and it's not going well. Like, you know, it's really hard to understand it if you've never been through it before. But yeah, my heart definitely goes out, and prayers go out to all the mamas and daddies that have to experience anything like this, any kind of loss.
If you do have babies at home, just be thankful.
Yeah. Anybody that has babies at home, please give them all the love, all the care, all the big hugs and kisses, because they're so precious.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.